What do we make of Greg McElroy, guys? Greg McElroy took a weird shot at Tennessee when the baseball program won the national title, attacked Tony Vitello for, I guess, doing some, like, acting like a WWE wrestler, and said it was embarrassing for him to jump in the stands with his fans. We all lit him up for that cover the Vols, and also Vol fans did. To his credit, he came out and apologized. Ever since then, now that the talk has moved from baseball to football, because now we're in the college football preseason, and that's dominating all college sports stories, Greg McElroy, the former Alabama quarterback who won a national title in 2009, seems like the biggest Tennessee football fan among media members right now. While so many people are underrating Tennessee, I think, analytical ratings suggest they're a borderline top 20 team. EA Sports College Football 2025 video game doesn't even have them top 25. Most analysts have them in the 10 to 15 range, maybe even 15 to 20. Even local media thinks 9-3 to 10-2 would be a good season for them. Greg McElroy is through the roof high on Tennessee. And with 11 of 16 SEC teams bringing quarterbacks to media days and Tennessee not being one of them, Greg McElroy on ESPN still managed to mention Nico Iamaleava as a potential Heisman winner. McElroy said, quote, "I like Nico Iamaleava. I think Tennessee is a top 10 team. I know I'm probably a little higher on them than most. Other people are still in wait and see mode, which I totally support, and I totally get that. I just think that if Tennessee is going to be as good as I anticipate them being, that means he's going to have a ridiculous year." He's right. He's right. I agree. I also agree with this. If you think Nico Iamaleava is the answer for Tennessee, and this is something I'm going to call out media members for. If you think Nico is the type of player that would return Tennessee to what they were with Hendon Hooker, if you think he's that player for Tennessee, why would you not think they're going to be a national title contender? They were a national title contender with Hendon Hooker. They were number 1 in the college football playoff rankings in November in 2022. If you think they're going to return to that offensive production, why do you think that then they would be a 9-3 team? That makes them closer to Tennessee with Joe Milton last year than it does with Hooker in 2022. And consensus is that Joe Milton was not a fit for this offense. So why do you think that if Joe Milton wasn't a fit and they still went 8-4 and finished 9-4, that they would still be closer to that range than they were in 2022 with Hendon Hooker, who would have gone to New York were it not for an injury? That just doesn't make any sense. And I think Greg McElroy, to his credit, is looking at what's being said about Nico, looking at what's being said about the program and saying, wait a minute, we know about this Josh Heupel offense. We know what he did in 2022. We know about the records he put up. It's inconsistent to think that Nico returns them to that, maybe even takes them to another level, because I've said he is created in a lab to run this offense, but think that they can't return on-field win-wise to what they were at. I just don't believe that. And so I love Greg McElroy being honest and saying Tennessee's a top 10 team. I've been saying from the start that Nico Iamaleava should be a low-key Heisman contender. I don't understand why his odds aren't a little bit higher. Vegas, to be fair, is actually higher on him than many media members. And the truth of the matter is, again, if Hendon Hooker was going to go to New York had he not gotten hurt, why should we not believe Nico Iamaleava is going to be going to New York? I think that's the point Greg McElroy is making, is that Nico Iamaleava should be going to New York if Tennessee is to do what Tennessee needs to do. Derek brings up Nico hasn't played in a nail-biting game. Tennessee will be in a handful of them early this year easily. I agree, Derek. And I think that's actually what's going to help elevate Nico Iamaleava's profile. I keep telling you guys this, and I'm sticking with it. By October the 1st, the Josh Heupel, Nico Iamaleava combo will be the sexiest topic in college football. Everybody's going to want to be talking about it. It will surpass the Colorado talk. Now, I do think Colorado and Deion Sanders will do better this year, so I think they'll generate more coverage into October than they did last year. They were done by October. But I think Josh Heupel, Nico Iamaleava is going to be where everybody's going to put their eyes on. It's just going to be the most fun team to watch in college football. What's going to happen is they're going to escape NC State as they're still kind of developing chemistry, the way they escaped Pittsburgh a couple of years ago. And then at the end of September, they're going to travel to Norman and face Oklahoma, and the center of the college football universe will be on that game. And Nico Iamaleava will deliver with the center of the college football universe on that game, with Josh Heupel trying to get revenge on Oklahoma. In the process, There will be a blowout, and it will have everybody talking about Nico after that. It will be reminiscent of, I've always told this story, go back to 1995, the game that had everybody in the nation talking about Peyton Manning as a special quarterback. It was his sophomore year. He had a great first year, finished 8-4 after he took over as a starter for a 1-3 team. He had a decent start to 95, had a loss to Florida. Middle of October, they went to face Arkansas. And Joe Lee Dunn was the defensive coordinator at the time and was considered one of the best defensive minds in the SEC at that time. David Cutcliffe and Peyton Manning put together a game plan that just absolutely led to Manning torching Arkansas. I mean, throwing the ball all over the field, absolutely dominating them. For the record, Arkansas won the SEC West that year. The game was in Arkansas. They were a top 20 program. That was the game that had everybody starting talking about Peyton Manning as a special, rare quarterback. Oklahoma will be that game for Nico Iamaleava. And kudos to Greg McElroy for seeing it. I guess the question is Greg McElroy trying to make up for what he said about Tennessee baseball? Or does he genuinely believe that Tennessee is a much better team this year than they're being given credit for? And is he basing that off what the media itself is saying about them? I mean, again, I don't know. Greg McElroy did that attack on Tony Vitello earlier this year was one of the least sense-making attacks in the history of attacks or criticisms in college athletics. It made no sense. To his credit, he did retire. He did apologize, but I couldn't figure that out for the life of me why he said it. Now, and to be fair to Greg McElroy, I think it is actually the way he believes. Remember, he said back in February, he said, quote, Nico Iamaleava feels like he's the answer. He feels like he's the answer. That Tennessee could have the breakout star in college football this upcoming year. Greg McElroy said that in February, weeks after Michigan won the national title. I've been seeing that for a while, that they've been all in on 2024, and 2023 was for them to bide their time and just stay above water with Joe Milton while Nico got in football shape and got ready to go, and they maintained the chemistry with Milton being the starter. I think that everything is about Nico and the offense and the chemistry they have in 2024. That's why they opened the NIL checkbook, not to load up on transfers, but to get key players they had to come back, i.e. Cooper Mays and Omari Thomas, two of the best leaders on the team. There's a reason they're both at SEC Media Days, and the same with Keenan Pili, by the way. Guys, in January, we didn't know if any of these guys that are at SEC Media Days would be on the team this year. So I think the leadership combined with Nico now and everything that Josh Heupel put into Nico leads people like Greg McElroy to believe that they are going to dominate, that they will be a breakout star. So this isn't new for Greg McElroy. I'm just going to say it. I don't think he is doing this to make up for what he said about Tennessee baseball. I think Greg McElroy was stuck in 2022 with his thoughts on Tennessee baseball and projected the way he felt about the baseball program in 2022 onto Tony Vitello after winning the national title in 2024. I thought that was highly unfair, but I understand it. There are times I have projected problems I've had with people in the past to things done on them in the future. Everybody does that, okay? Judges and court do that, okay? If two people are facing trial for the same crime, a judge will give a more lenient sentence to one who has never committed a crime before than he or she will to somebody who has committed multiple crimes before. We judge actions differently based on your previous actions. I just thought that went way over the top with Greg McElroy and Tony Vitello. And so it was a little bit extra. Put it that way. Just a little bit extra, if that's the best way to say it. Because all Tony Vitello did was celebrate with the fans. But I don't think Greg McElroy has some Alabama fandom agenda against Tennessee. I just don't think that's the case. And I think a lot of his track record is showing that.